He wants to add context. He wants to add-
Everybody's got their
Can I
own.
do it in mail? No.
No, we should just talk that.
Next what?
That meeting we're gonna change.
Plus.
Yeah. Don't.
There you go. Picture's there.
Yeah. And
Well, good evening, everybody. Hopefully everybody had a good Easter holiday. We're gonna start our workshop, I think it is 7:01. And tonight, we are gonna first bring up Mr. Peter Elder, discuss some parks and recs surveys that recently he had sent out.
it's all yours.
I want to thank Gary because I called him up this afternoon and said, I think I'd be on the agenda, and then I called Paul first and said, how long is the agenda? And she said, it's pretty short. And then I called Jerry and he said, well, it's fine if I did this. So I want to make sure you guys are updated on some of the things that we're doing on the Parks and Rec Committee, including the survey. These are the minutes we've taken from the last 3 meetings. And we're establishing regular meeting dates and times as of this month. So, and what I wanted to go through, we did have a nice response to the number of surveys handed out. I didn't get around the whole village because it was just, the winter was not kind. And so I probably would like to do something on a couple of other streets at some point in the future. But if you look at I gave you the minutes from the March 22nd meeting of the Parks and Rec Committee. So it gives you a written summary of the survey results. I handed out surveys by hand, literally, to Southwick, Hawley, Heartland Estates, Champion, Elm Park, Lapham, and the lower part of Dunning, lower being the park between Fuller and Main Street. So people might call that upper, whatever, but it's a pet park. Of those, we had 7 returned, which is not a lot, but we had quite a few. But also, we didn't do all the streets. So if we were to do all the streets in the village at that return, we did get a much better return. But anyways, of the people that of those that were returned, they isolated the age groups of the people that used the park, and most people who used the park were ages 25 to 54, which I thought was interesting. How often they visited the park. This is skewed a little bit because of the streets that the survey was handed out in. The Shants turned out to be the most visited. The activities turned out to be roughly the same, but I thought that it was interesting that view nature was so high on the list, which tells you a lot about how people look at our parks. They just go there to experience what's there. So that's kind of neat. The condition, basically people felt that the condition of the parks were good to excellent, so and I just wanted to make sure that's a huge compliment to Jake and his crew for all they do. They did suggest some additional amenities for the Hojack Trail. They wanted a suggestion of adding signage to explain its history, some of its stories, and there was a suggestion of adding lights to the park. There were some suggestions about some maintenance issues. One of the ones I thought that was kind of interesting was an individual said that the survey itself helped them understand that what parks we had. So in other words, they didn't know. So again, if you do some extrapolation, there's probably an awful lot of people in the village who don't even know what we have to offer. So that might be something to look at. And I think it's maybe a reason why it's so important for us to have a parks brochure. They talked about, and they also, one of the persons thanked a neighbor who helps take care of Shant's Park, and then another person talked about having more gardens and trees, which probably reflects the fact that that's a big issue for people because they go there to see those things. Does anybody have any questions about the survey? And like I said, I would like to do more of this in the summer. The streets that I'd like most to do are the ones over in Wilmright, which are Iroquois, Pontiac, and Seneca, because they're the ones that are most affected by not only Case Park, but also by the Wilmright Park where the playground equipment is. So it'd be nice to see what their reaction would be as well to the survey. So the Parks Committee has been working on a few other things, and you'll see this in the minutes. We're working on Jerry's idea about seeing about maybe making a memorial wall at the Veterans Park. And Jake's got some great ideas for designing that, so we're playing with that. He found some cool software that's pretty much for free from Google that helps design, helps use some basic design. It's called Google Sketch. And now it's on video, so I'll remember too. And so but it's a neat program where you can actually design three-dimensional views of things. So we could actually put together how that wall might look in the context of the existing park. And so it's something we're working on. It's going to be a project. There's no question it's going to be a longer project, but it's also it may be something we can actually bring to the board. Hopefully, maybe by the fall would be nice. Obviously, we've been talking about the brochure distribution, and I know that I got a call. I got an email this morning from Megan about getting more parks brochures in the village hall, which is great because that means people have been taking them. So I'm going to get over there and see if I can do some copies and get those back into the slots and rings. I mean, I think I had 25 in there, so if there's only one left, so 24 of them were taken, which is great. I mean, that means people are interested. We've been talking a little about that Pocket Park on North Avenue, and Jake was talking about what the landscaping would look like in there. I'll be doing a parks walkthrough probably in a few weeks. What I did is I put together a form that's the same for every park because Jake had some concerns about the subjectivity of past walkthroughs. This form will eliminate most of that. I'm gonna ask the ladies in the office if they would help me out, give me the rental forms for our facilities, so we can just take a quick look at those and see what we can do with that, because these facilities might be great for, you guys are smiling, but I know there's something behind this story. No. All right, anyways, it might be good to see what we can do about renting the facilities more for the village in terms of revenue. At one time, this room did generate some significant revenue for the village. It's a great room for parties because of that kitchen. And so, it's not a bad idea to try to use this a little bit more. And it's not an obstacle, the chairs are not an obstacle, the board table is not an obstacle, and it can be used really effectively for that. So, and it's a low intensity use, really, so it's not that bad. We're not talking about, bachelorette or bachelor party, we're talking about birthday parties. We also talked about markers for trees, and that program we're going to probably present to you soon. The idea was to have people be able to, in effect, sponsor a new tree probably, is what Jake and I are talking about, and they would, in response, they would help pay for part of the tree installation, and then they get a plaque. Some of them you see around, like a little post with a small plaque on it. They would say, to my whatever, or in memory of, or something like that. And of course, we're looking for new members. And then we have been talking about a budget for the Parks Committee. And we'll probably talk about that more. We talked to Daryl a little bit about that as well. The markers for the trees obviously pays for itself. So the only thing we'd be looking for is a redesign for the wall, and we'd be looking for some small amounts of money for copies for brochures. And finally, the other thing we've talked about a little bit is the clock. So I've talked to Daryl. I talked to Jake about the clock a little bit. Daryl said to call up Canandaigua National. I haven't done that yet, but I will do that. The clock might be a $25,000 expense. So we, obviously the village has a parks fund. It'd be nice not to have to tap that fund unless we had to. However, and so what I've been doing is I contacted Dave Whitlock and asked him, do you guys know who Dave is?
Yeah.
Okay. So he was involved in the board when the first clock was put in. So, and I'm not sure if you're all aware of the history, but real briefly, thumbnail, 30-second sketch. That clock was paid for entirely by private donations, which is why at the base of it there's a rock with a plaque on it. It talks about the people who did it. My question for him is going to be, how did you do that? Because the clock was still pretty expensive even when it was installed then. So I'm hoping that maybe we could investigate putting a program together and be similar to the one that we had back when it was first installed, and at the very least try to raise money to rehabilitate it. It'd be nice to have a new one, but we'll see. So. And that's my goal there. I mean, I'd like to save the parks fund for other things if we can, but we'll see what happens. Obviously, that clock, you've all heard about the clock, I'm sure. So we probably want to do something about it. So at least we could get something a little bit moving on that. It might be good. So. Yeah. And Dave's a good guy, and he was a trustee for 8 years, so he knows how, what happened there, he was involved when the park was actually first put in. I don't know if all of you remember, there used to be 2 homes there that were, one was burned, one was taken down, and that's how the park was. Yeah. So. Anyway, so we're trying to keep ourselves busy. I think we've got a good start. We'd love to get more people involved. If anybody's watching this and wants to be involved in the Parks Committee, please call the Village Hall, call Daryl, call me. My number's out there. If everybody, tons of people know my numbers, find and call me. Anyway, so, but we just want to see if more people could help, because the ideas are great. Jerry and I come up with some great ideas. Jerry's a font, great ideas, and then Jake's pretty good too. But we'd love to have more residents involved. So, anybody have any questions?
Good job, Peter.
What's your budget roughly?
We don't have one.
How much, oh,
You don't have a budget per
The
se.
parks are all done from the
what do we have, what's in there, what do we have in there roughly?
Oh, you mean the parks fund?
The Parks and Rec.
I have it here.
That's not a budget, that's not a.
Well,
No, it's just a fund it's funded from from putting in the units and, Heather, do you know what it is?
Offhand.
Is it it should be on a balance sheet somewhere.
It should be in.
I'm looking at it.
It won't be on the budget
Yeah, it's
itself.
not in the budget.
Yeah, the budget won't have it because it's an off budget, it's a fund, literally. So it has to be accounted for separately, so. I thought it was like 85, but I
Yeah, I
don't,
thought,
That's
but
kind
I
of,
don't wanna
About
like,
80K.
I don't wanna like misspeak, so.
So,
So things for the parks can be paid from that fund, but obviously, the 2 things that happen there is, one, any allocation the board makes is subject to a permissive referendum. Not that I necessarily think people are gonna pass petitions against improving parks, but, and the second thing is that it's a non-replenishing fund, so once you spend from it, the only way to get more money to it is by building more units, building more homes, more apartment complexes, so, at some point when there's a build out, you're not gonna get much more in there. So it might, so it's important, I think, to think about what you would use that for, so, that's all. Because once it's gone, it's kind of gone.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you both. Thank you all.
Thanks, Peter.
You're welcome.
Can you, I told Jake, I would put the list. All right, so our next discussion, this has been something we've been talking about for a while now and brought up by office staffish. No real formal review process that's truly happening now. So in front of you, I believe, Daryl gave us this one, which says employee performance appraisal. And then the other one that says confidential on it is from where I work, Hillside, so I wanted to give you, we can look at that one first. So different from this employee appraisal that Daryl gave you, this basically is saying you're sitting down with the employee and giving them outstanding, exceeds, meets, expectations, unacceptable. The one from Hillside, so if you look at like performance objective one, the first box, so what you're gonna do in the beginning of the year, you sit down and you create an objective. So something for them to achieve throughout the year. You do midpoint, so you meet with a midpoint and check in, or you can meet a couple times a year. And obviously the goal, I believe in a review, is to make sure the person succeeds in their role, so that's why you meet throughout the year. But if we're setting expectations and objectives up front, then there's a section here for the employee to give themselves a self-assessment, and then after that, you would assess the employee. And then the rating is did not meet objective, or exceed objective. So we typically do anywhere from 1 to 5 objectives. And then this, if you go to page 3, this is about professional competencies, and what's nice is everything in this, the employee can assess themselves, and then the supervisor does. But some of the categories are communicates effectively, demonstrates personal excellence, cultural competencies, leverages relationships, optimizes decision-making, manages change, that's something that we struggle with here, is managing change.
It is.
But again, Some other things to just think about. Let me see. Then, if you go to page 5, there's development goals. To me, objectives are something that you can measure, and you're gonna have clear data on whether someone succeeded or not. A goal maybe comes from the employee, like my goal is, if I'm on an admin 1, my goal is to be an admin 2, or to be the treasurer, so you can give yourself a goal, or a goal that you wanna accomplish this training this year. So that would be goals. And then, obviously, this, page 6 is the rating description, which says that exceptional performance exceeds proficient, below, or poor. And then you're basing your increase on this. So if you decide that it's 4% for the office, exceptional performance may be 4.5 or 5% exceeds as your 4% as you get down. So traditionally, my experience is you just don't get 4% because you're supposed to get 4%. If you're not meeting expectations, why should you have a 4% increase? So something like this really helps you guide, and the thing is, you're working with the employee the whole way through this process from start to finish. So I just wanted to bring you this to show you guys an example. And then Daryl's, obviously, when he sent the employee performance appraisal, really doesn't set any expectations.
Where did he get this?
I don't know where he got this.
That was, what was used.
That was used, so maybe from Peter.
No.
What's it look like?
So, one person did get a review with this,
Only one.
but it was
Yep.
removed.
That looks like something that came after me,
Yeah.
but I can get you what I did.
Yes, because
Well,
we had some different, this wasn't,
the objectives are there though,
Huh?
right here.
Work is performed accurately, amount of work is performed on a daily basis. That's more of a statement than an objective. You're not like setting this up from the start of the year. That's the best thing is they should know what their expectations are in my
Yeah, this is
mind,
just
and that
plain
helps.
and
Yeah,
simple.
yeah, sure.
And it's jointly, it's not like you're up here, it's like you guys are equal level. So I don't know, just a thought if we wanna create something like this, and then, stick to
Yeah,
it.
because Xerox's was more like yours, much more
Yeah.
like yours.
Yeah, it really gets
And
the
it was
employee
very, and it
involved.
was very set with everything, so that the employer and the employee knew exactly what was expected. And
What's
if
nice-
you wanted to grow, this is what you had to do,
Right.
and you understood it.
And you put deadlines, so you may be able
Yeah.
to meet an objective, 3 months into the review process, but then summer or towards the end of the year. But if you're getting towards the end of the year and the objective isn't gonna be obtainable, this
Yeah.
gives you the flexibility to sit with a person and change it.
Yeah.
Change it, maybe if you
Yeah.
needed like 10 trainings by June 1st, and it's May and you're at 3, you drop it down to 5. You're supposed to be able to work
Working
together.
that.
Be able to work.
Yeah, so everyone succeeds.
Didn't Jake set up something?
So Jake sent me something, let me pull up what he
Because I
sent.
thought he had set something up for,
Sent me something this evening.
I think he has what he uses for.
well, I know it, but I'd like to look at it,
You don't have to yell at her.
You wait till you hear it.
So this is what Jake does, I believe. He distributes a blank copy of a performance appraisal to each employee. He completes an appraisal for each employee in his department. A review is completed. Then they schedule a meeting with each employee to review and finalize. Based upon the total overall rating, they inform the employer if they're eligible or ineligible for a step-up. Then they return it, everyone signs, the board will consider recommendations and approve. So kind of similar to this. So my only hope is that, I personally would like to see the meeting up front, setting expectations and objectives and goals to obtain, so you can improve and get better on something every year than just.
Just expecting a raise
Right,
you're not
expecting
actually
a
working for
raise.
it. You're gonna, it's gonna feel better for
Right,
yourself
and,
too.
and what's nice is that it's individualized a little bit more, so everyone has strengths and weaknesses, yet you try to find something, an area where someone's gotta grow in. And that's what you kinda key in on, so. Whether, I'm not sure if we use this as a template, or who's gonna do it, who's gonna be the one that puts it all
That
together.
would be Heather, wouldn't it? Or
That's what
would
I was
it be,
thinking.
Yeah, sure.
With you, Carl.
I mean, she's,
Just as a, to go backwards, the Parks Fund is 130,000.
wow.
Oh, thanks.
How'd
Did you text Christine? You did? I was kidding.
Buy a new clock with it all day long.
How would, which one do you like here?
I really like, I've been looking, Jerry sent me this a while ago, and
Yeah.
I really like this. I mean, I think a combination of these is probably great, but I
Yeah,
really
you
like
tweak
this.
it a
I
little
feel like
bit,
it's,
I mean.
Yeah.
You're looking at this one, right?
yeah.
It's a little overkill for.
Yeah. Agreed.
But,
You don't think that this
But the
is
concept.
maybe a little overkill?
Well, we're gonna have
Well,
to,
yeah,
it's
but
gonna
we
have to
can-
go through to work, make it work for us.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think the
It's
model.
the concept.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think it should be
yeah, like I said, we
a
can
little
tweak
bit
it, she
simpler,
can tweak
so that
it.
yeah.
it's better understood if it's simpler.
Yeah.
And,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, you can,
I can grab one from Xerox
you
too.
know, an
Because
employee would
it's the
look at that and go,
same-
oh my
I
God,
got one, it's staples and.
I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and, you know,
Because
there's
this
4
one-
pages of stuff that I gotta.
Believe it or not, you'd be amazed that the employees actually like it because
Yes,
Yeah.
they
they
do.
can really capture their side of
I like the
everything.
Yeah.
self-assessment, that's
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
and this
Carl-
one, I
Carl
mean,
likes
it's
this
fine,
KISS
but
technique.
it doesn't really
Yeah.
specify.
KISS technique?
No, it
Right.
doesn't, it's only a
Right.
review, it is not
It's
telling you
simple
what.
stuff.
Maybe you use this at the end.
And sometimes you may judge,
Exactly,
you
I
may,
think
you may be
that's
going one way with an employee, but after you read their self-assessment, they remind you of some
Yeah.
things that they did, and you're like, oh, me, now I gotta really think about it, so
Yeah.
it's a good, yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be this
For 20
detailed.
years, I did appraisals,
You did?
and I had to appraise the people that worked for me, you know.
Do you
Then I
have a
went to
form?
Wegmans, and I'm being appraised. What a shocker that was.
Do you have a form from?
Yeah, it's similar, it's like this.
Oh, it's.
It's only a page and a half, actually. But, you know, they're very,
No, see, I.
it's very wordy, you know, I mean, really drawn out. And, you know, just give me a pencil and I'll sign.
No,
So do you
know,
think,
So you don't want that.
yeah.
so do you think we can put something together and
Yes,
get it rolling with the new,
Simplify this a little bit.
yeah.
so
Okay.
you're
I'll
gonna
email.
not do it from January, we'll do it from our fiscal year, right? Fall
Yeah.
fiscal.
That's what I.
Yeah.
I've already started making notes and thinking what I want to put in there.
All right, so do
What
you
kind of
wanna
a time frame,
draft,
dear?
you wanna draft something and then we'll bring it to another workshop?
Yeah.
How long do
The
you need?
next workshop, no, I can start the next workshop or, not this coming meeting, obviously, it's next Thursday, but the following one. Or
Yeah,
what's
probably
the
good
following
for,
workshop?
probably good for a workshop.
Yeah, the 26th.
The May workshop?
Yeah,
Okay,
give you a little time,
Okay.
right?
okay, yes, not a problem.
And then we'll take a peek at it and everyone can put in their 2 cents and.
I think it'd be good to ask the staff's opinion too.
That's what I'd like, yeah.
Everyone review it too.
Because the various organizations that I was in at Xerox, that's kind of what we did when we started revamping a lot of that stuff. And we did that through, there was a leadership through quality, and we did that, and it was in 3 different groups that I worked with.
It's not like feeling it's like an attack, it's something that is.
Right,
gonna be
right,
better for
no,
the
we really
office.
want their input, so,
Yeah, I like
and I
this.
like this,
Yeah.
it's not a
And if
bad,
there is an objective that you can make
Yeah.
one of them for all the staff,
yeah,
or they come, you guys all come up to it in a group, we do that as well, so everyone has one that matches everyone,
Yeah.
they'll have to. And that could be trainings or things
Yeah.
that you want the whole group to accomplish, so they can all have the same,
Mhm.
one objective.
Shared
same.
goals, one of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, 1 or
It's
2
good for
shared
people
goals.
to do discussions too.
mhm.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this, it's really helpful.
All right,
Yeah.
so,
That was quick.
that's it.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Quick meeting.
Does anyone have anything else they want to chat about? Like,
No, just as long as the organizational chart and everything is being followed and everybody is doing what they're supposed to do.
I think we still struggle with that.
Yes, we do.
Um,
I don't know what we need to do about it. don't know
I
if
think
that's
maybe you, I think you were gonna send me, can you send me like a calendar of your meetings when you meet?
Yes.
And I'll try to make
That-
some of these meetings, and if one of us starts to sit in on these,
I could.
maybe it'll help you steer the,
Yeah,
I think the
Oh, I think that's a really good idea.
some of the disconnect is happening because if I'm saying to the staff, it minimizes confusion if the things go through me to the board. That's how it's
Yeah.
supposed to be, that's what I'm
it's the
here
way
for.
it's supposed
I'm
to
almost
be.
like a liaison to the board.
Yeah.
And they're taking it as they're not allowed to talk to you, or it's like an attack against them. And I keep saying, no, it's not. It's just so that things that have happened prior don't happen again.
yeah, that's easy to, if I'm a part of those meetings, help them understand that, yeah, they're allowed, where it's an open door, talk to us all you want, but at the end of the day,
Yes.
we put Heather's position as the manager of that office, so she's ultimately responsible for the office, so that's typical structure, you're not gonna deal with 7 people, you're gonna deal with 1 person.
But
We
that's-
gotta, hold on, we got a call from the mayor.
Oh, what's he doing?
Hey, how's the meeting going?
It's going good. I forgot my iPad today, so I'm glad you tried.
Hey, where is he?
Oh, you're on the iPhone?
Yeah.
Yes, so where are you?
Downtown Denver.
Wow, must be nice.
Where?
Very nice to be
Benny.
78. And we just stopped in here.
What's that?
Candy and fudge and pralines and all that good stuff.
Oh, look at
Where's he,
him.
in Haiti?
No,
Venice.
I won't disturb you
Venice.
anymore.
Venice. Well, we only had 2 items. Peter,
All done?
yes, Peter just went over the Parks and Rec surveys and some of the minutes, and then we discussed the review process. And I think that Heather's got a few weeks to draft one up for us to look at.
Okay.
Hi.
Are you going on a gondola ride?
I would love to
Yeah,
see
there,
Venice.
wow.
That's not right.
It was actually the plastic triangle truck.
Hey, I won't keep you any.
No, that's just a plastic. That's a plastic bobblehead. He's not really here.
I just wanted to see if it would work because, now I can.
Now you can go away even more.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
All right.
All right, I'll be back.
All right. Goodbye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Technology nowadays.
That's cool, is it?
Oh, I love him.
Uh,
That was good.
I told them to FaceTime and scare Jerry during the meeting.
oh, that's funny. That's good. Did you get him on camera? All right. Well, I guess if there's nothing else, this is weird.
Wow.
This might be a-
Hey, does anybody know what's happening on the corner over here of Park and 250? On this corner, right here, I can see it out the window.
Now you're asking.
They tore the
audience.
barn doors off and
Yeah.
they're building a parking lot around the barn and I don't know who.
No.
I guess I gotta call the planning. board.
Planning board?
Call Will.
Will,
Will may know.
Yeah, I call Will, but I just thought maybe
Maybe
somebody
they're
did.
done.
I did not hear of anything.
cut down the big tree.
I
They cut the tree
know,
down.
they did cut that monstrous thing down, yes.
I think Chambry has something to do with it. I think.
Who owns it now?
I think Maplewood owns it. Because we saw Maplewood vehicles over there.
What?
You know, maybe it's a rehab place or something. But it's not zone commercial, is it?
No. It can't be over there.
Maybe a map.
Well, she did have the antique shop in there, though.
Carl, what number is it?
Park and,
No.
250. Park
It's right on the
250.
corner.
North side of Park and 250.
Right there, 66, and it's not commercial.
66 is the first residential.
Yeah, because Thelma had the antique shop and everything
Yeah, she
on
did.
the first floor.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Thelma's house.
Thelma. But I've been watching what they've been doing over there, and it's like every week they're doing something different.
Yeah, maybe a doctor's office or something.
But why do you think?
There's a big
Grand
parking lot there.
Could be what you're talking about.
Well, I know, but why do you think, like,
Well, Jody saw the
You take this conversation offline.
Yeah.
Basically,
truck. They took the barn doors down.
yeah, I know, I saw
well,
that.
those barn doors
But I didn't know
were
Chambry.
in need of replacement,
Well, they did, we know that.
so.
But they
What
cleaned
they
out.
replace it with is pretty ugly.
All right, so I'm gonna call our meeting to
Yeah.
an end, I think, and we can chat about this a little more.
Okay.
Next village
Need the
board
time?
meeting, April 12th.
Budget meeting?
7:30.
7:30 on the dot. Next meeting is the 12th, right?
Right,
That's the public hearing for the budget.
budget.
And,
Yep.
we did a good job with the budget.
It's in the paper,
Yeah,
already in the paper.
so,
We posted the budget. We did it wrong.
Did it wrong. I'm sure that will be
Why?
pointed out in our next meeting.
She just doesn't put it the way we said it, but it's fine.
well then how did they get the information?
No, they put it in, it's just not how we wanted it, but
Still got next week to make an adjustment, right?
it's,
It's fine. All right.
changing.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Mhm.